All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. You good? Yep. All right, we'll try that again. We're good? All right, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is John McNamara, the Superintendent of Schools. This is the second bond informational meeting that we're doing, and thank you for taking a few minutes with us tonight. Much of the same information that we shared last time. The biggest difference between this meeting and our last meeting is the board has officially adopted our bond referendum, which they did at their last business meeting on October 6th. So now we can kind of talk in more official terms about the bond and the upcoming bond vote on December 6th. Share a little bit about the bond with you tonight, go over the kind of the three categories that we'll be presenting to the public for consideration. As I mentioned, the bond vote will be on December 6th, and we've talked a little bit about the question of why. Why are we doing a bond? Why are we doing a bond at this time? So I just wanted to start by addressing that. There's several people here tonight that are going to be helping me with our presentation. One will be Anthony Cedrone, our Assistant Superintendent for Business. And then our architect, Michael Mark, is here, and Frank Marino, our construction manager, is here as well. And I'd also like to thank the members of our Board of Education that are with us tonight, Anthony Greco, Adam Fisher, Tara Cassidy, and Laura Reish, and Jennifer Perfetti are all here tonight, all five members of our board. So let me start by just sharing with you the why behind our presentation. First off, we had started to do some of this work really going back to 2018, 2019, when we started to put together our strategic plan. We identified a number of key areas that we wanted to improve upon across our district. We had done a good amount of survey work across the district. And one of the key pillars, one of the four pillars that we identified that we wanted to do some work around was in the area of our infrastructure to improve all of our learning spaces across the district. And we targeted this particular period in time, 2023 to 2024, because we had some debt service coming off our books. We had done some projects in the district between 15 and 20 years ago. And over the course of those projects being paid for, we have some debt service now that those projects are paid in full that are coming off our books. We have aging buildings, as many folks in this room are well aware. The average age of our buildings is about 65 years old. And these are the projects that we had done going back a few years, the extensions at our elementary schools and the North Gym project here at Wantagh High School. And that's currently what we pay in debt service payments annually. As I said, this year, one of those bonds will be off our books completely. We'll finish paying that, and the following year we'll pay off the other bond. In addition, we get state aid on our projects, so that's something I just wanted to highlight tonight as well. We receive about 60 cents on every dollar that we spend back in state aid on many of our projects. Most of the projects that are listed here in the bond are aidable. Some of the projects we tie into other projects to help with that. Not all projects receive direct aid back from the state, depending on the scope of the work. So I'll ask both Michael and Anthony to address that when they come up in a few minutes. Why are we holding, I also received some questions around why we're holding a bond vote in December, not part of our regular budget vote. The reason for that is so that we could start this process of addressing some of this work a little bit earlier. We can't submit projects up to SED for approval, the permitting process that we have to go through, until the voters authorize us to do those projects. And this will allow us to get a jump on some of that work. We can start to submit some of those projects if the bond is successful in December and January up to SED for approval, which will allow us to start some of that work in the summer of 2023 instead of waiting an additional calendar year. So there's three propositions that we're going to be asking the voters to consider. Proposition number one is what we're really kind of calling our infrastructure project. Those are there's really three large items that are contained in there, and it's for all 5 of our buildings across the district. And the three items that are contained in that are windows, univents, which are the HVAC systems in each one of our classrooms that heat our spaces currently, and electrical upgrades as well. So those are the three items that are contained in there. And you can see those total across the district $39.5 million. You can see the window replacements. These are across all 5 of our buildings, and that's the breakdown across each one of our buildings. And you can also see the univent replacements. These unit ventilators currently provide heat into our classrooms and are original in many of our instructional spaces. These would be replaced by units that would provide both heat and cooling in each of our instructional spaces. And you can see the breakdown of those projects across the district. Most of our instructional spaces are air conditioned, but they're air conditioned through window units currently, which are not nearly as efficient. And then proposition number 2 is for a couple of other items. One is our district auditorium, which is right here at Wantagh High School. We have just one auditorium space for our district. Also included in here are upgrades to our athletic fields and upgrades to our playgrounds across our 3 elementary schools. And you can see the breakdown of each of the projects there. $3 million in terms of renovations to our auditorium, $12 million in athletic upgrades, and about $900,000 in playgrounds. This is some of the renderings for our auditorium. We would fully upgrade this space, and it's seating, it's flooring, it's the stage area, it's lighting, it's the sound system in there. And these are some of the renderings that you can see that Michael and his team put together for us of what that space would look like updated. As Michael will share with you, we tried to keep as much of those spaces, keep what we could in those spaces. For example, you can see in the ceiling, those panels, those acoustical panels are currently there. We would keep those and refinish those. Wherever we can, we were looking to do that. And then this is just another angle you can see of that, what that space would look like. Also included in proposition number 2 is work on our athletic fields. There's really 3 projects here at Wantagh High School. One would be our baseball field, which we would resurface in turf. 2 would be a multi-purpose field, which would be in between our baseball field and our softball field for soccer and lacrosse. It would be a multi-purpose turf field. And the 3rd project would be our softball field, which we would resurface in turf as well. We would add some additional bleachers on the west side of our main field. So we would have additional bleachers for visitors. We would put in a concession building and a bathroom building as well. And you can see that on here. And then this project also calls for lights to be installed on our fields here as well. And then this is the Forest Lake project, the second part of our athletic project. Forest Lake is the facility that we typically use for many of our JV and middle school sports, particularly soccer, for lacrosse. We have 3 fields that we typically use there for that. This project would call for doing 2 turf fields and finishing the softball / Little League field that's there. The community donated that field, the James Lodato field. It's currently a turf infield. This project includes completing that project with a turf outfield as well. And you can see what that would look like. And then also a bathroom building and building for concessions there. And then bleachers that run in between the 2 fields facing in each direction. And then upgrades to all 3 elementary schools are in our playgrounds there. We have some playgrounds that are in need of replacement that have gone past their life expectancy there, that we need to upgrade and update some of our asphalt areas there as well, where we have basketball courts and students play other games there also. So that's proposition 2. And then proposition number 3 is to renovate some of our existing spaces. One is cafeteria, the cafeteria here. This room and the room next door are 2 cafeterias to upgrade that space. Our kitchens at each one of our elementary schools and here as well. Those are definitely dated spaces that are in need of some attention. Also updating our library here at Wantagh High School. And right across the hall, room 150, 152, those spaces, and some courtyard areas as well, right here to make that an instructional space, as well as a space for outdoor eating. And then bathrooms across the district. We have a number of bathrooms that are in need of upgrading across the district, and there's $3 million in here in upgrades and bathrooms across all 5 of our buildings. You can see some of the bathroom work and the breakdown of that, where that work would be done, and some of our existing bathrooms. These are from Mandalay in our gym area that are in need of attention, as well as the bathrooms that we would be upgrading in our classroom spaces there. We have bathrooms in between classrooms at Mandalay and Forest Lake that we would be updating as part of this project as well. Here you can see some of the renderings of the work that we would look to do here in the cafeteria to really upgrade this space. And then some renderings here of our library and media center. That media center would be 150, 152 to upgrade both of those spaces, as well as our courtyard areas, upgrading those spaces as well. And then this is a summary of the various projects. You can see each of the propositions. Proposition 1, the infrastructure project, totaling about $39.5 million. You can see here, this project would really replace the debt service that's coming off the books over the next 2 years. The debt service we're retiring in 2023 and 2024. We believe we can, that in conjunction with the aid that we would get back from New York State, we can really do this in a budget neutral way. Without any significant cost to the taxpayer. Proposition 2, you can see here, we're estimating would be around $11 per month to the average homeowner. And that's the project, that's our athletic fields, our auditorium, and our playground spaces. Project number 3, you see that would be about $9 per month to the homeowner, and would and that's our bathrooms, our cafeteria, our kitchen spaces, and our library here as well. The way that we set up this bond vote is for it to pass successfully, right? We have a little bit of pieces that are contingent upon one another. So proposition number 1 would need to pass in order for proposition 2 or 3 to pass. Proposition 1 is our infrastructure project, some of the real critical projects that we need to accomplish. If proposition number 1 passes, then proposition 2 or 3 could pass. 2 or 3 are not contingent upon one another. They are just contingent upon proposition number 1 passing. So proposition 1 could pass, and 2 could fail, 3 could pass. That would mean that propositions 1 and 3 would pass. But 2 and 3 are not contingent upon one another. In addition to some of the projects that I highlighted that we do through some bond work, there's some other ways that we could pay for some projects. One is through our capital reserve. We established a capital reserve fund several years ago that we are still in the process of funding. And we fund that through any fund balance in our district budget. We have about $3 million in there currently to do some work. So we've designated some projects there. And as we continue to fund that, we'll continue to do those projects. It includes some masonry work, it includes some roofing work, some asphalt work, sidewalk repair. We have a good amount of masonry work to do across the district. And then, and you can see in addition to that, we will fund some projects through our district budget. And you can see some of those projects that are highlighted here as well. We've done some survey work. We've posted that online. I thank everybody that participated in that survey work that helped inform some of the decision making we were making. And here's the date for our vote. If you're not registered to vote yet, then you can do that. You can reach out to Elaine McGuigan. She's our district clerk, and she can help you with that process. And we'll have, you can see on here, the date for our official registration. But as I said, you can do that anytime. Reach out to her prior to November 29th. And we're going to open it up to some Q&A about the bond work. Yeah, good question. Yeah, in order for it to pass, it's a simple majority. The question was, what is needed for it to pass? I'm just repeating the question for the benefit of folks that we have listening online, so that they're aware of the question. It is a simple majority, and it would be for each one of the propositions. It would be a simple majority. No, so the question is, what happens if 1 passes and 2 and 3 do not? That means that proposition 1 would pass and move forward, and 2 and 3 would not. Yep. Correct. Yep. So 1 is budget neutral. We don't believe there's going to be an impact to the tax levy with proposition number 1. We've structured that with the debt service that's coming off the books. It'll really replace that. But proposition 2 would be approximately $11. Proposition 3 would be approximately $9. So the whole thing, the whole $69.5 million, we estimate that it would be about $20 per month to the average homeowner. Yep.
You said that proposition 1 is budget neutral. If proposition 1 fails, what will be the savings to the taxpayer?
So what would happen is we would, obviously we wouldn't do that work, right? And the debt service would roll off the books. So that number would be about $100 or so, probably total, annually.
So proposition 1 fails, we will save $100 a month.
Not a month, no, annually. Annually, yep. Correct. And then, I'm sorry, let me just go back and address that. So just one important point with that, right? And I can have Anthony speak to this as well, right? So what happens is if we let some debt service go off the books, right? What happens is we're going to lose our ability, right? Well, you'll see maybe that come back to you in terms of a couple of bucks, and we'll go down a little bit. If and when we go to do that kind of work, then you're going to see that rise, right? That increase. So what we're trying to really do is keep this as balanced as possible, so you don't have these spikes up and down, right, in your tax levy, and that's why we're trying to time it with the debt service that's rolling off the books. Yeah. In terms of the lights. Yep. Yeah, so the lights that are out there now are really, they're security lights. They're not sufficient for us to light the whole field and have a game. What we run into is, right, all the shoulder months and months like starting now where it's starting to get darker earlier, and we lose the ability to have contests, much past this, 6 o'clock at night because it's starting to get dark. It'll extend out some practice times for us, give us more flexibility in terms of using that. And I completely understand the concerns from the neighborhood in terms of the increased potential traffic and some of the nuisance that you all deal with. So The thought is, though, being able to extend out the use of our fields. Yeah. Yep, so these are all the things that I'm looking forward to speaking to you about on the 24th. I know, that's why I didn't want this meeting to be strictly about lights, but I'm happy to talk about them. Okay. Fair enough. So I'll speak about them now. So the goal with the lights really is to extend out, right? As I said, we're just trying to extend out our ability to have practices, use the facilities that we're going to build. We're going to make some really nice fields here and extend out the ability to use them. That being said, I want to be cognizant of you guys as neighbors, right? And I know that that comes with the potential for some increased traffic, some increased use of our fields. We'll certainly put some guidelines together around what time the lights will go off in the evening, and really try to manage that for you. We want to be good neighbors, and I know that it's not easy living next to a school. I get it, and we want to, certainly do our best to partner with you to make it so that it works well for everybody. So as far as the transformers go, I'll let Michael speak to that a little bit, because we don't necessarily determine where those go, if I understand correctly. It's going to be the electric company that does that. So let Michael speak to that a little bit.
Hi. So yeah, with the transformers, ultimately it's the power company that determines where they go. More lights wouldn't add more transformers. So the lights would all be LED. They're not more power. LED is going to actually use less power. Where the power increase is going to come that's in the bond is really to run the HVAC equipment. So they're not for the field. They're going to run off the building service. So the lights themselves won't require more power. The reason that the benefit of these lights, so I'll give you an example. I was just in another school district. We installed lights very similar to here, where they're right on the property line. And we were actually there on Saturday to take some photos. Plain Edge. So I was out there Saturday. We brought photographers, we brought drones, because we wanted to show for this meeting on the 24th, and we'll give the district those photos, but they can put them on the website or send them to you directly. But I'll show all those. I can show you some on my phone, but I don't have the full ones yet. So essentially, the control over the lights are not just set on a timer. It's not an on-off switch. It's all sort of computerized, and they can be turned on and off remotely. If there was an issue, so I told you we were out there Saturday at Plain Edge, The superintendent turned the lights on so we could take our photos. The second we were done, I texted him and he shut the lights off from his house on his phone. So it's all remotely addressable that way and controllable that way. The lights don't all have to be on or all off. You can turn on one field, turn off another field. We have lights at the top for playing actual sporting events that light the field to a certain lighting level, which is required by the national government to play sporting events at 50-foot candles. When it's practice time, you don't have to be at 50-foot candles. You can drop down to 30-foot candles. And if you just want, say, the community to walk the track, we can turn off the upper lights and just turn on lower lights to only illuminate the track. So I can show you some photos after the meeting of what that looks like. But the district will have phenomenal control over all these. Once you get 10 or 15 feet off the field, there's no light spilling out. So it'll be much better controlled than what you have now. It will use less power than what you have now, but you'll have a lot more control over the lighting and the timing and the sequence. So it's not something the district has to set a policy. They go on at a certain hour and off at a certain hour. There's much more remote control beyond that from anyone the district assigns for that.
We'll give you the act, you can shut it on and open it. I'm here.
I have a question based on what you just said,
Sure.
because I hadn't heard that before. The lights we have now are currently not okay and acceptable to play in the evening, is that correct? Because those are safety lights, so like, if like the other day, like I don't know, the girls soccer team, right? They really shouldn't be playing under those lights, like we can't play with the lights being turned.
You can play with them.
Well,
Right.
I will tell you, I just came from the JV football game today, I call it at the end of the third quarter because of the light.
Right. So these new lighting systems are designed to give you not just light the field, but at a uniform level across the field. You don't want bright spots and dark spots and bright spots and dark spots. It becomes very hard. There are also certain lights that just shine upward. So when the ball goes very high in the air, it makes it easy for the players to spot the ball. So for baseball, for a pop-up, or even a punt in football, when the ball goes up above the lights, you kind of lose it in the darkness right now. This sort of alleviates that. So it's very limited amount of uplight. It's called ball spotter to track the ball when it's in the air and make it safer for the players when they're playing as well. Sure, sure.
I would say practices if need be. We could, to Michael's point about keeping lights on, we would be able to walk the track. Those kind of purposes. No, they're going to be used, right? They're going to be used for the community when they're walking the track. They'll be used for students when they're playing a game.
I think he means the Wantagh community, yes. Outside communities, no. But your entire community, not just the school students. Is there already a policy in place for use of your fields?
Yeah, so when people use our fields, right, they put in for permits. There has to be a certain number of Wantagh residents that are part of that, right, to be able to use our fields. We're not looking to, I know there's a concern that seems to be that now we're going to be renting out fields and there's going to be people. That's not what we're looking to do here. Yep. I'll give you perfect examples of things that we need the lights for, right? So it's expansion of practice time. That's a big issue, right? So we don't have the ability. We have one turf field in the district that's shared by multiple teams, girls, boys, and for them to do full field practices and do the things they need to do, we don't have the ability to do it. So that would give our athletic director the ability to schedule a practice from 3 to 5 o'clock, 5 to 7 o'clock, and just give us more flexibility. When we get to this time of the year in the fall, and when we're in the beginning of the year, beginning of the season in the spring, we, to Jennifer's point before, when we have a game that's starting at 4:45, we can't complete that game. So the ability to turn the lights on and do that gives us the flexibility. When we have SATs on a Saturday, we can't start a game till we're going to have that. It's going to happen for our football team's doing well this year. They're going to host a home playoff game. It's typically that SAT day. We can't start a game before 3 o'clock to allow everybody to complete the SATs and do what they have to do. The ability to turn lights on at 5 o'clock just to make sure if the game goes into overtime, we don't have to stop the game. We can have the lights on. These are the types of things that we're continually up against that don't give us the flexibility to do the things that we need to do. No, we're going to have the lights on when they're needed, right, for events. Yep.
I'm not trying to begrudge anybody, having a full experience. They're about safety. All the possibility that is being done. The safety of the children, the more people that are there, more vandalizing, more someone's going to get hurt. There's a lot of, electricity loss, maintenance costs, we have staff increase. So while this bond is all of that, is that all of these costs?
Of course, right. So one of the things that I think when you were here last time, we talked about our ability to secure our facilities in the evenings. And we've put together a plan over time to increase that so that we have the ability to do that. We've added the first level of that this year. Over the next couple of years, we're going to strive to continue to add to that. We have our security. We have the ability to do that remotely in places as well as we add to our facilities. Typically what is done on all of these additional light poles is you add in security cameras along onto those poles as well. So that gives us greater access to monitor our facilities remotely. Instead of having multiple guards in multiple places, we can have one person centrally located here that can monitor things. So gives us the ability to expand all of that too. Jean's patiently been waiting with her hand up. I'm just going to.
I just wanted to, if my memory serves me correctly, that we do have a policy in place that dictated, I believe, that our facility closes at dusk. Yeah. And that you did indicate that you were going to support that with additional security, through the cameras.
Right.
You would make an attempt to try to do that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the schools will be closed at dusk.
No, not when we have a game. If we have like
I think
yes.
the public, right? So
Correct.
if you were having a game, obviously the public would be there, but in July, when the schools are essentially closed and our baseball team might not be playing the game, at 10 o'clock, you won't have the community walking us back.
Correct. Correct. Thank you.
Don't take this the wrong way. We're talking about SATs and practicing. That's 2 days a week. We're going to spend $16 million because you can't schedule the schools. That's number one. You got to give a better example. My backyard, as we speak, has 3 broken windows and a broken fence. That's what we just have now. I'm tired of fixing them. I've been there 27 years. I fixed them multiple times. I'm just gonna let everything fall apart. When the fence finally falls into my pool and breaks it and somebody dies or something like that, we'll discuss that at a later date. Number one. Number two, the traffic alone, you know what I'm gonna say, well, this is gonna sound crude. You guys could all swear on your children's lives that you're not gonna rent that field out to anybody but Wantagh schools or Wantagh sports. On your children's lives, that's a horrible thing to say, but I'm gonna say it.
As I said, there's no intent to expand this at all. We have, in terms of giving permits, right, we have board policy around that, right? That's what we did. We follow that policy.
You know, because when we all move into a neighborhood, most people do their due diligence. I've said this at the first meeting. When I moved into the neighborhood, I did my due diligence, I followed everything. I was told 3 buses go down the block. It's 30 buses back. Things change. So now you're telling me no, but you know, in a year from now, you know what? We got a couple 100,000 from this district, a couple 100,000 from that district. We'll rent it out. Things change. There's more than 3 buses that go down that lane now. Correct?
Yeah, we don't have 30 buses. What's our total number of buses, Ann?
Well, 1997, when I bought my house, that's what I was told. 3 buses would go
Yeah.
down. So things do evolve, things do
So-
change.
So typically, a given day, we have between 9 to 10. Give you a sense of that.
I mean, the traffic is ludicrous on that block as it is, with the 2 stop signs. And now you're gonna be adding extra sporting events, and what Diane is looking for is a set schedule of lights. If this passes, are we gonna be able to get from you people that May 30th, from Labor Day to Memorial, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, the lights will be on Monday through Friday, from this time to this time, on Saturdays and Sundays, from this time to this time? Are you going to be able to provide an accurate, rock-hard schedule? Because you should be able to put all your sports down on paper.
I think we can come up with reasonable expectations in terms of when our events are going to end, right? I don't think it's going to be, I think you're envisioning as being on forever and always, right? We're going to be reasonable with it. We're not looking to, no one's looking to expand. No. Yeah, look, we're all on the same page. We want to create a great experience for our kids here, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to fix up our buildings. We're trying to improve some fields. We're trying to improve our buildings, right? We're trying to improve the experience for kids, and we're trying to, at the same time, be good neighbors with you guys. So we want to, do the best for everybody here. And I understand the challenges you guys have with living next to us. I get that.
So, I moved here in 1997 also. Felt like I was moving from New York City into Mayberry. It's different now. And in case you haven't noticed, safety is like a big issue. So why, I look at all your beautiful slides, why wasn't cameras on there?
Yeah, so we've
You
done,
mentioned it as an after.
yeah, so we've done a lot of camera work over the past couple.
But you didn't say proposition number 2 is we're gonna put up LED lights and the cameras.
Yep.
You said it as an after.
Yeah, so I'll let Michael speak to the way they put up the poles the way they do now, but I'm just going to back up a little bit.
Safety, let me just finish. I'm not feeling, there's underlying issues here. Like, yeah, we all love, hey, my son played football here. We love that once in a while night game, of course. But it's different now. And safety kind of takes a little bit more priority.
Yeah, no, as long as you're good, I'll respond. I started responding, I feel like, yeah. So we've done a lot of work around safety over the past couple of years. We have added dozens and dozens of cameras across the district. We've added lockdown systems. We've added visitor management systems. We've added vestibules for visitors. All things that weren't here just a few years ago. We take a multi-pronged approach to security. So yes, there's the hardening of our buildings and adding different features for security. We've added mobile apps for our administrators. We've done all that work. We also approach it through training, right? A big part of security is training, right? It's just not the adding cameras and various features. It's training our staff and training our students how to respond in case of an emergency. And then there's the mental health aspects of it and making sure that we're providing support for kids, in particular our at-risk kids that could potentially, if not given the right support, look to harm other people. So we do all of that in terms of providing a multi-pronged approach to security. The cameras that you're referencing in terms of the poles, that is part of that structure. I'll let Michael speak to the way they kind of design those and put those features in.
So cameras throughout the district are part of the annual capital budget, and they happen on a regular basis. They're not waiting for the bond for security within the building. The cameras we're referring to are actually on the light poles. Each pole has a camera to monitor and secure the fields to make sure nothing bad goes on after hours or anything else. So each light pole, besides the light itself, does have cameras attached to it as well for safety and security out on the fields.
I mean, they cut the whole head of the Indian out once, they did some fence once, and everybody's like, oh, this is a good idea. But the cameras, up in there, they weren't working then, and that's like, if you're gonna do this giant nuclear complex, you're gonna need to have, top-notch security, because these kids around here, maybe not just in Wantagh, or they're not even, they're gonna come to it. We do it all the time.
Mhm.
And they're gonna do it even more. The lights are on and then they're there after dark.
Right. Well,
It's gonna happen. And
the way the lights are, I'm sorry, go
he
ahead.
said there's nobody except us that hear them doing whatever they do. And we don't care that people hanging out, but it's true, they do it. I mean, we don't have to care, but we do care.
Of course.
We don't want that happening.
Right.
Don't come, they don't care, whatever. So if somebody gets caught doing something,
Yeah, vandalism is something we deal with in all our buildings all the time, right? It's something that we monitor. Our cameras help us with that a lot. We've used them to identify students that have done that. You wouldn't know that because that's not something we put out in the universe, right? We deal with students one-on-one and their families when we do that. So it's something that when it comes up, we use our cameras for that purpose. Ed Emmer.
Speak to the camera issue, as a former board member, the technology has changed so much from when you moved here, or when the field was first put in, the cameras that we first had and the cameras that we have available today are light years apart. A light years apart. They're not gonna use them. But to
So when-
say, we saw you do this. When that incident
And now
happened
you're
with
gonna
the,
pay for it.
with the Indian head, I don't believe we had cameras that adequately could record that at that time. Now, we had cameras at that time that could only record, it was like every 2 minutes, and then a pause, and every 2 minutes, and it didn't save. I'm telling you the truth, it was really rudimentary. Digital technology has really exploded, it's much different now. I just wanted to kind of alleviate that here. If they say there are gonna be adequate cameras and someone watching them, then they will be.
Okay, but let me just tell you one other thing, just because I have kids that are already graduating college, but these kids, on lunch, give up games, but they go on the roof. Just so you know, and I get them all the time, believe me. Well, but so, is this gonna capture that? Are they gonna, is something gonna happen if they do that? I mean, I feel like
It has, and we do.
So welcoming to come and hang out and stay here as long as they want.
My parents said, we don't put that out for the community, that we watch somebody on the roof, because we're not gonna tell you their names, we're not gonna give up their families, but it happens. Unfortunately, yeah, we could, that's fine, we could get to that, but we discipline them all the time.
Yeah,
They're
because I've
suspended.
heard otherwise. I've heard that the
No.
cameras weren't working, it wasn't clear, and.
I just have one last thing. If you go around the country, I've been to multiple sports venues, multiple places. I work for the airlines, so there's not a BS story. Almost every big sports venue is built in the middle of nowhere for a reason. And they're usually in bad areas. You guys want to put a major sports venue in a residential area. That's the problem. That's the problem that we have.
Yeah, no, we're not looking to put a major sports venue.
Well, yeah,
We're looking,
because
we're
we're
looking
looking for 2 new soccer fields, a new softball field, a new baseball field.
for
high
use.
school, and more bleachers. That's pretty much me.
For use by our high school kids, the same number of competitions, we're not adding competitions, we're not adding number of games, right? We're just improving the fields that they're playing on. We're still gonna have the same number of baseball games, the same number of softball games, the same number of lacrosse contests, right? That's all governed by Section 8. We're not adding competitions, we're not adding, increased number of games. What we are doing is we're expanding our ability to be able to practice a little bit more efficiently on those fields, right? Use them a little bit better. Yeah.
I know we have, because it's in my backyard every day.
I'll tell you, the football JV and varsity basketball, and you think they can't all use that turf field all at the same time, so some of them are out in the middle of the dirt, running up and down with no line, no way to really practice their sport. That's first thing. Secondly, I know you're all concerned about the lights and why do we need them. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, because of COVID, these buses don't get these kids to these sports events on time. There's no games that start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like 3:30, 4 o'clock. All of our games are starting at 4:45, 5 o'clock. So by the time these games even start, at this time of the year, it's starting to get dark. We can't host games anymore.
What does that have to do with COVID though?
Like, it was the amount.
So you can't drive because public was around.
Bus drivers don't wanna go back to work.
So in 5 years when this is done, COVID in the past, and the bus drivers back.
So if you just had the fields without the lights, all your sports teams could practice at the same
No
time.
one's trying to keep it.
We don't mind the turf field.
We
We would love the turf field without the
Why
lights.
we need the extra space on
You just said we don't have the JV, the girls, the boys, this. If you put all the fields in without the lights, they can all practice soon as school is over. Each team's gonna have its own individual field. And you can do it right after school, so you don't need the lights.
You're asking why we need this major sport. I'm not saying we're got to get rid of it.
decibel that.
And that's why we're giving some folks a choice, right? We broke it down into a couple different areas for people to choose.
They need the same type of.
The light poles will probably be 85 feet. Yeah, and the reason for that, by the way, the taller they are, the less,
Skyscrapers around the field.
not skyscrapers, the reason for the height is so we'd avoid the light spill beyond the field. So it lets us aim the light straight down at the field instead of shooting it out across. If they were lower,
That has four, and look at how powerful it is.
Look where that is, wide open space.
but they don't have LED shielded lights, which is what you'd end up getting. So that presentation, you're gonna see, we actually took video. I have presentation, we can bring a sample out. You'll see the way the light gets aimed. The benefit of the height is not just to make them taller, it's to control the light spill, so it's only on the field and doesn't wash the backyards, which is what's happening right now. So if they were lower, they have to shine out. If they're higher, they can shine down.
That's in Proposition 2, right? Oh. Gotcha. Yeah, we had some lights that were donated by Nassau County for that field. No, for the baseball field in the back. And one of the things they were running into, the Little League was running into, was our girls' softball team uses that field during the right after school, and then they didn't have much time before it got dark. They'd be out of there at 5:30. They would start their games at 5:45 and 6, and they were running into darkness issues there. So they pursued a grant through the county. The county reached out. The Little League did. They pursued a grant through the county. The county reached out and said that they would support that grant. So that's what was being referenced earlier. Correct. Correct. Not part of the grant. That's part of Proposition number 2. Turf. The soccer fields. Yeah. So yes, the proposition is to light those fields.
So you need for day-to-day practice, for the time, like the hour that it goes over, in the fall, you're gonna need 2 soccer fields that Forest Lake lit up, and a football field and another soccer field at the high school?
Correct. That's what the proposition's for, to light those fields.
That seems a little excessive.
I played sports my entire high school career. The sun goes down at 5:30 in the dead of the winter with daylight savings time. School ends at 2. If you're out there by 3, it gives you 2.5 hours of practice. How long is practice?
Once again, it's practice, it's the contest, it's all of that, right? It's the ability to, this time of year, to be able to host games.
How many games, at what time are you gonna host?
Even a game starting at 4 o'clock, this time of year, we run into darkness issues.
So you're gonna play football or 3 soccer games on a daily basis? That's gonna make this work?
It's not just game, right? It's practices, it's the whole thing. We have, when you think about the number of teams, right? Girls and boys soccer. We're talking about a 7th grade team, an 8th grade team, a JV team, a varsity team, right? Just on the boys' side. Same on the girls' side. Now you're talking about just in soccer alone, that's 8 teams.
That's daily practice, that's not, you don't have to worry about the buses being late and photos to make sure that. You're talking about coming out of school, you don't know what to do.
Yep, it's to manage all, but then, right, then you throw in a handful of games on any given day, right? You throw in 2 games on any given day. So it's to manage all of that. 6. Yeah, 6. The same. Same thing.
Yes. Sure. They're not up all the time, like we said. We had to ask them to turn the lights on just for photos. They turned them off when we were done. They turned them on, and some neighborhood kids came to play, and then we turned them off and they left. Right, they're all LED.
That's in our operational budget. Yeah. Emery?
If everybody's finished, I wanted to ask about funding.
Sure.
I don't know if you're going to talk about this at the next meeting, but I noticed, handout that was going around that we're going to phase in the projects over 3 school years. So with the bonds issuance, are they also phased in? In other words, you get a one lump sum bond and put it like in a savings account over the 3 years, or do you do 3 separate every year using the project?
Yeah, it's definitely phased in. It's different borrowings, right? It's not all one borrowing. And I'm gonna have Anthony speak to just how all that works. We can't borrow all at once and put it in a savings account. It doesn't work that way.
So that is the answer. You can't borrow all at once and put it in the bank. There are laws around the ability to borrow. You have to, I think it's 18 months, but don't hold me, it could be 2 years. So when you borrow, you have to be X percentage complete with the work and paid out to the contractors within a period of time. So based on SED approvals and when the work is going to start and all of the components that go into having it approved, you're not going to borrow until you get SED approval. That's rule number 1. You can't borrow for something that you didn't get a building permit on. Then from that point in time, you have to look at how long it takes to construct. And even if you have an approval and it's going to take 3 or 4 years, you might borrow in phases just on that one project, let alone potentially multiple projects at the same time. So that's how that would go.
So, I understand. I understand the question. So the work will be done. It's not just, proposition 1 would be completed, then 2, then 3, right? It wouldn't be done in that order. It would be done on our ability to complete certain projects, right? So we would do in phases. So there's different phases that we have already sketched out in terms of, for example, just to give you a sense, the Univents alone, that the lead time to order those is 50 weeks, right? So we submit the permits, we pair up certain projects, and then we would start that. We'd be able to do some of the outdoor work at the same time that we're doing some of the indoor work. So we estimate that between summer 2023 through summer 2028 is when all that work would be completed in different phases. Inside, outside. What phase would? We would aim for summer 2024 for high school, middle school fields, summer 2025 for Forest Lake. That would be our target. Summer 2024.
I'm just curious, how many of you guys actually own commercial property, personally own commercial property? Do any of you? Yeah, because the reason why I'm asking that question, I own commercial property. I know, and I get repairs, things go, roof goes bad, parking lots go bad. I'm looking for this budget. And these guys, they tell me, oh, your entire roof is got to be replaced. Your parking lot's terrible, broken up, cracks, broken up. Well, it's my personal check. I say, no, I don't know if I want to spend that. I call in another contractor. He says, no, I can fix it. I've had contractors tell me, and a couple of years ago, we spent $4.5 million to repair the roof. And I wanted to ask if I can go to this company to do it. I said, you got to be kidding. I've had contractors tell me your roof is terrible, the whole thing's got to be ripped up. It's going to be $50,000, charge me $50,000 to repair it. I called in one of my other guys. Oh, I know where the leaks are. I'll patch it up here. $5,000. Perfect. 1 year, perfect. My parking lot, which cracked up like this, they were telling me, you got to rip up that entire thing. It's terrible. They quoted me, you dropped, I've replaced parking lot before. I know how to do it.
called another guy, no, I got a method to patch it up. They went to patch it up, sealed it off, perfect, beautiful, parking. There's two ways, when it's your own checkbook, it's a little different. When it's taxpayers' money, we go for the golden parachute, let's spend the top dollar. And that's what I'm hearing, it's every year, we look for the most expensive way of doing it, because it's not your personal money.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't own commercial property, I knew that, I knew the answer before you told me, because no one owns commercial property would ever come up with a budget like, would ever come up with a proposal like this.
Yeah,
This is written by someone who does not own, who's not gonna write the check themselves.
Yeah, to the contrary, right? So what I'll do is I'll have Michael speak to our process a little bit, how we come up with the estimates that are put before the community right now, and then how we also, the process to bid work and how we do all that.
So we don't always look for the golden parachute. That's certainly not the case. So I'll talk about roofing first because you mentioned that one. When it comes to roofing, I think the superintendent mentioned earlier, the state gets aid on some of these projects, meaning that they get 62 cents on the dollar back.
I'm the state taxpayer.
Okay,
Pay state tax.
got it. So the state contributes aid back to eligible projects. Any kind of repair work, first of all, holds no warranty. It's only as good as the next rainstorm. Second of all, repairs are not eligible for aid. So roof replacements are eligible for aid. You get 62 cents on the dollar back. Roof repairs get zero and hold no warranty. When it comes to roof repairs, there's a lot of rules in the state codes that are written, and Frank's aware of this as well. He and I, the construction manager in my office, go back and forth on trying to determine what's best. We're trying to stretch the dollar and get as much for it as we can. We can't put a third layer of roof on a roof that already has two. By code, we're not allowed to. Their structures weren't designed to hold that. The weight could actually be dangerous. So we get to the breaking point of a roof where we have to take everything down to the original and build it back up.
You don't have to put on a third layer. Sometimes you find you got a good roof, you know what
Correct.
the leak is, and he patches that one spot. I've had it done. I paid the.
I agree with you.
got that check for that.
But every building is unique. So we looked at these particular buildings, and in this bond, there's a slate roof that's original to the building at Wantagh Elementary that is irreparable, that has to be replaced. It's limited there. The roof on the library here has asbestos shingles on it. We can't work on that because of the asbestos content, so that roof has to be replaced. The extent of the roofing is such that we're only doing the roofing that's necessary and that's already out of warranty. There are a lot of other roofs in this district that will need work down the road and need some repair and maintenance work that can be done out of the annual capital budget to keep them going and extend the life of those. But the ones in the bond are only those that have failed and are irreparable and have to be replaced. And they're limited. It's only in a few select areas. So state aid, trying to maximize the amount of aid coming back. So I know the superintendent mentioned earlier about those aid payments. So the way that works is when the state gives you funding on a project and they say we're giving you back 62 cents on the dollar, that's spread out in aid payments every year. That money comes back to the district, goes in to offset other expenses that the district has. So that becomes sort of a recurring revenue. So it's always in the district's interest, and it's in our interest, representing the district, to try to maximize that aid coming back and work within the rules, keep the building safe, keep them dry, and keep the revenue coming back to the district for future work. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So, I'm Frank Marino. And we do a lot of preventative maintenance in school districts.
Frank, I'm just gonna have you talk to the microphone so the folks at home can hear you.
So our process with the roofing is to kind of analyze every roof. And like Mike said, we only chose the roofs that were totally gone or have asbestos in it where it has to be removed. Part of the 900,000, I think, that we're spending on roofs is an overlay system. So we're not gonna rip up the roof. We're gonna put it's almost like a pool liner, but it's an overlay system that we can get another 20-year warranty. So a big part of this school, I think we're doing probably 25,000 square feet. The roof does leak, but instead of taking it up and replacing it, we're going to put down a fleece back overlay system, which is a lot cheaper. So to rip up the roof, which a lot of school districts do, to take it down to the deck, re-insulate it, and build a new roof, today, with prevailing wage, costs between $28 and $32. Our budget for an overlay system is $15 a square foot. So we didn't immediately say, okay, the roof shot, rip it up. We analyzed what was wet, the percentage that needed to be replaced, and we chose the overlay system. The slate roof at Wantagh is totally shot. It doesn't pay to repair it anymore. If you could find people to do slate today, the right way is very impossible. It's impossible. So we're gonna take that off. We're not gonna put back a slate roof. We're gonna put back asphalt shingles that look like slate. So we didn't go to the best roof we could buy. We went with the economy and the value in it. Like I said, the overlay system will give the district another 20-year warranty. So we didn't rip off the roof. It's not, like they said, the repairs are not funded by the state, so you don't get 62% back. So there are requirements with roofs, and in the private sector, I do own commercial buildings. In the private sector, I could shop all day long and find somebody cheaper. In the public sector, in a school district, you have to go out to bid and you have to follow the bidding laws. And there are certain requirements that you have to put in the bids, like prevailing wage. Prevailing wage for a roofer is probably $85 an hour. The roofer that you hire is not paying his help $85 an hour. So the cost for school districts with the state laws is you have to pay prevailing wage. So you are paying a little bit more, but we look to see where we could save on the project itself. Did I answer some of your questions?
Someone.
I mean, you could call up 50 roofers. We can't call up anybody. We have to publicly bid, advertise. They have to put up a bond. Your roof is not putting up a bond. By law, they have to pay prevailing wage. They have to give us the certified payrolls. They have to be on record in the school district for 3 years. So it's a lot different when you have commercial property and it's coming out of your pocket than in a school district that has to follow the law.
But still, they bid on the proposal, which is correct.
Right.
They can't, would a bidder be allowed to say, well, I have a better way of doing it, or do they have to bid on just what you put on?
They have to bid on what's on the bid. It has to be apples to apples.
So if roofer said, I have a better way of doing it, they can do it back after the budget, but you have to rewrite the bid.
That's the work they do prior,
Yeah, that's the
right?
trouble.
So
Someone can't say, I have a better way of doing it. They can only bid on, almost like a rigged bid. They have to only bid on.
Well, that's why you hire professionals. So I've been in this business for 40 years.
See, that's the difference. When I bring in a roofer, I got a roofer that comes in, I have a better way of doing it. I can accept it. That's the difference. I can take that guy who has the smart guy who's been out there for 30 years, says, I know exactly how to fix this. So we don't need to do that extensive project. And you're not allowed to do that. That's why.
Well, you're trusting somebody else's opinion. We're basing our opinion on experience and knowledge of roofing.
The guy's the more experienced guy. The guy with 30-year experience is a better way. He's usually the more experienced. The other guy, the young guys come in and just want that big job. They're gonna come out with the biggest project.
Individually, these are not big jobs, and I think we chose the best method for the taxpayer.
On the sidewalk, I know it's the town, but the street itself, that lane is chewed up through all the excess traffic. It's never been replaced since I've built the house. Now, do you guys have any say in that you could call the county up and say, have you checked out that with the lane recently? Because it's turned to crap, there's pebbles everywhere, it looks bad.
Yeah, we could always call. We can make that call. I don't know, look, they may listen to us a little bit, but, I'm happy to make that call, and reach out. We do that with traffic, we do that with, like, I just had a conversation just about, help with traffic getting out of here, if we could do anything. So we reach out periodically. I'm happy to make a call and reach out. Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's time tonight. The next meeting will be on November 14th, I believe, and we look forward to anyone that would like to attend then. So thank you for coming tonight.